Welcome back to Key Schools. So step 1, what have you read? What have you watched? What have you listened to? Step 2, what did you find interesting about it? What engaged you? What did you find difficult? What did you find that you liked? What didn't you like, etc. And step 3, how did any of step 2 influence you in making a decision about what to read and explore next? And then you move on to step 1 again. Now you've seen that this video has a slightly clickbaity title, and I apologise for that. But you've seen from the clip, something I'm about to say, that we are actually going to share our top tip, which is hopefully quite clear. But I have to caveat everything I say by saying that, there is no model, there's no one way to write a good personal statement. What a good personal statement means for Cambridge anyway is a slightly complex thing. We don't sit down and mark personal statements, putting crosses in the margin. We don't give them marks out of 10, right? So please don't feel that I, as someone who reads lots of personal statements as an admissions tutor at one of the Cambridge colleges, am telling you this is how you should write it, and if you don't write it like this, it's all wrong. Not at all. But if you're stuck for ideas and you want a kind of formula that you can use and work with rather than rigidly adhere to, then keep watching, because I think this is quite a good way to go about it. Okay, so step 1, tell me what you've been reading. What you've been watching, what you've been listening to, etc. And as a sort of side step for a second from step 1, it's really important to say that what you're doing, what you have been doing, reading, etc. when writing a personal statement is not really of interest to me, particularly when I'm reading them. It's more the fact that you've been reading these things, the fact you've been having thoughts about what you've been watching, listening to, and the fact that you're showing evidence of independent engagement beyond the curriculum. Because if you come to Cambridge, you're going to be doing a hell of a lot of that, right? So that's what I'm looking for, whether that's watching YouTubers, whether that's reading really high-level academic articles, which very few people do, by the way, and isn't impressive in and of itself. Necessarily, it really doesn't matter, okay? Maybe not everything on your personal statement should be YouTube videos, but that doesn't mean that it's any disadvantage to be including those at all, or documentaries or podcasts. So think broadly about what reading and what exploration means. So you say what you have been doing, right? That's the first tip. So I've done this. And then moving on to what you found interesting about it. That's number 2 of this 3-step process. So I read this book and I found this particularly interesting, or I really thought that this particular argument was of interest or problematic, something along those lines. Remember to think critically. Put that in there in a sentence, right? Really get to the nub of why you've read that particular book, why you've watched that particular documentary, listened to that podcast, visited that museum, etc. Because it's important that the personal statement doesn't turn into a list, right? Occasionally I'll read personal statements which will just list loads of great things, but they're not really giving me a sense of the individual who's written the personal statement as an academic, as a potential academic, which is ultimately what the personal statement is there for, right? A Cambridge personal statement is there for you to give me a sense, the admissions tutor a sense, the director of studies, the people who look after the subjects in the college, a sense of who you are as an individual in a purely academic sense. What you like reading, what makes you tick in economics, in English, in maths, etc. And if you write a personal statement that says, I read these 10 books, this, and this, that gives me some idea that you have an interest in those books, but beyond that I've got really absolutely no idea of what particularly is of interest to you. So it's really important to say what it is you're finding interesting, what it is you're engaging with, what it is you find difficult, what you don't like, what you do like. So that's where to put that in. And then finally in this 3-step process, what you found interesting about this, or what you found difficult about it, what you didn't like about it, etc., influence what you then went on to read, to watch, to listen to, right? So how that interest carries forward. You're giving me a sense of your organic process of, I'll use that buzzword that I know you're all sick to death of hearing, supercurricular exploration, right? I know schools say it all the time, and you can easily switch off, right? But supercurricular, beyond the curriculum, that is so much what we're looking for. It really is, because as I've said already, that's what you're going to be doing at Cambridge. You're going to be asked to spend a lot of time by yourself doing independent learning. So if you can show that you're already doing that, that looks so good. So I read this, I found this moment really interesting, and because I found that moment really interesting, I then went away and thought, oh, maybe there's more stuff along those lines that I can go away and read or listen to or explore. Okay, so there's your 3-step process. What you read, etc., read broadly. What you find interesting, challenging, etc., about that thing in a sentence. And then finally, how that thing that you found interesting, exciting, whatever it might be, moved you on to the next thing. Repeat, right? I must stress this isn't a model. I'm not saying that this is how you should write your personal statements. But if you're in that stage, which many of you may well be, as we come to the close of the summer, whenever you're watching this video, of thinking, oh, I really don't know how many things to put in. How do I structure this thing? How do I get all of this great reading and watching and exploring that I have been doing over the summer and over the course of year 12 and before? How do I actually get it down on paper into a document? Because that's quite a difficult thing to do. Then maybe start with this model and see where it takes you. Absolutely doesn't, as I keep stressing, have to be like this, but it may be a really good way to start you off, or to wrestle something that's maybe too long into a more manageable shape. Okay, so that's my top tip. I hope it's useful. I hope you found this video useful. As I always say on these videos, if you want to watch more of me and students and academics giving taster lectures and are thinking of applying to Cambridge, and all of this is helpful to you, then please do click the subscribe button. We've had a bit of a period of not releasing many videos, but we're going to be releasing many more very soon. So do that, and I'll see you on the next video.